Welcome to the Screen Guide Podcast, a podcast aimed at bringing context, commentary, and conversation to the blank that you love.
I'm your host, Derrick.
And I'm Daniel.
Daniel, what's the blank that we're filling in today?
Today, we're talking about Oscars predictions and the Oscar races in general.
And today, we're joined by a special guest, Chris.
Chris is a TV and film content creator who specializes in covering all things award shows.
Hi, guys. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We're really glad to have you.
If you guys didn't know, Chris really does specialize in TV and film content. She really is an expert with the awards. Specifically talking about TV, she has a massive fan base. Talking about Pluribus is where I kind of first connected with her online, but also The Pit. She's just tapped in with what's happening day to day with TV, and then with the award season coming up, she's my go-to, honestly, for what's happening in this space.
100%. Like every time there's an award show coming up, when there was the SAGs, when there was the Golden Globes, Chris is one of the people you have to go check out here.
I think, too, when I do awards coverage, my main thing is I want to walk through the logic of what could happen for all the different possibilities, because that's what I find most helpful. Like, we might not get everything right, but I think it's helpful if you provide everybody with the logic of a few different paths versus just saying, this is going to win, or I want this to win, and that's it, and not really providing any context. So that's really my goal when I do any award season coverage.
You have a wide knowledge base. So that's why we really wanted you on the pod to talk about Oscars. I feel like you will guide us in the right path. If we're saying, maybe we should go here, you'll probably be like, actually, based on precursors, based on XYZ, this is the way that we should go. So we're really excited to dive in and see what we pick.
Derrick, are you saying that Chris is the Screen Guide's screen guide? Is that what you're trying to say here?
I mean, truly she is. Like, truly she
I love that.
will be the person that I'm like, I feel like sometimes I go with my heart and Chris will lead me through the logic of why that's not the case.
I'm definitely a stats and history kind of person, and sometimes you do have to go with your gut, because if everything could be decided by stats and history, then everyone would get everything right. But that's where I tend to lean. But sometimes you do have to make the heart choice.
Well, we just wanted to give a brief overview of what's been happening in this Oscars award season. You know, just looking at precursors from SAG to WGA. Chris, specifically, what are your feelings kind of going into this Oscars race? Do you feel like the gate's wide open for all the categories? Do you feel like it's pretty similar as to last year or years in the past? How are you just feeling going into the Oscars?
I mean, I think this is a much more exciting year than many of the previous ones, because a lot of the big categories are up in the air. I think especially in the acting categories, a lot of the past few years. In the supporting categories, they've been locked, right? Like, we had a Kieran Culkin, we had a Divine Joy Randolph. And so there was no excitement going into those races. And this year, it's like, I think some of those are three-way races. Anybody could win. So I think it's a lot more exciting than usual.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I really feel the length of an award show cycle, especially when there are those locks, when Zoe Saldana is just like cleaning up day after day, award show after award show. And while I do think the award show season may be a little tiny bit long, what the length, especially this one, has allowed, I'm seeing a lot of ups and downs. I'm seeing narratives really pop forward. Some of these might just be online narratives, and that's one of the things that I want to talk through when we get to some of these categories. Where are we sure that there are swells in some areas, or are some of these just like our little pockets of the internet? Just because all three of us are pretty active in the kind of like TikTok space, so we're seeing a lot of people talk about these stuff. But like, will the boomer voters care about, I don't know. I mean, this was the last day of voting, but will they care about ballet, for example? Will they care about these certain things that, while I think prognosticators, or is it called Kashi, whatever the voting thing is, or the gambling thing.
Betting, yeah.
The betting thing, where they are really taking into account these things. But I don't know if voters care as much as we online do.
Yeah, I think the current awards discourse, specifically in the past couple of days, as you're listening to the podcast, we're getting Timothée Chalamet with the ballet discourse and his comments there, Jessie Buckley and her comments about cats. I think for us on the pod, we might think this is a little bit silly. I think generally there's an air of silliness to it, with some of the comments. But Chris, specifically, do you want to make a statement on maybe where you feel about maybe if Timothy or even a Jessie Buckley?
Are you pro anti-ballet?
Oh my God. That is so crazy. And It's so funny because a lot of these things just cropped up in the last 2 days of voting, or I think after in the case of Timothy and Ballet. So I'm like, okay, guys, this is not going to make any difference, though.
Let's calm
I do think his
down.
comments were rude and would be talked about regardless, but that's not going to affect the actual Oscar race. But I was actually going to say I think the season is going on too long, particularly because of the discourse. People get bored. They are just digging things up. People start to go crazy. And I feel like a lot of the season was kind of drama free compared to past years because I think more of the movies are well liked, right? I think last year didn't. I don't think it was as strong of a year, and I don't think it had
Was there a
as
certain
many.
movie? Was there a movie in mind that you're thinking about when you say last year was a different game?
We all had one common villain, I think, and maybe that was good to have everyone on the same page. But it also made for people very annoyed when Amelia Perez was winning so much at certain award shows. So yeah, I feel like the start of the season was good, but now I think people are starting to turn on movies they once liked, and it just feels a little performative, like you're bored. I'm like, you all liked one film 2 months ago. I don't think you all suddenly hate it now, but that's just the kind of cyclical thing we're going through.
Yeah, it feels like everyone needs a take, right? Everyone needs a specific take. And it's a long season. It really is. And I definitely feel it. But I also think that moments like maybe Michael B. Jordan's surging might not happen if everything was condensed into a January runtime, where I think right now there is room to breathe so that we can have exciting dialogues around certain who will win versus should wins that maybe not happen if it was kind of truncated down.
Definitely. It's kind of funny because Sinners did come out like a year ago, and so, which I love Sinners, and we've just been talking about it for a long time now. And I really like, Chris, that you said, I feel like we're just trying to find a villain. Like we're trying to name villains throughout this entire award season because there's no common kind of threat that is Amelia Perez this season. But even with the move, like to a degree, we're not specifically talking about the movies themselves as to the nuances of why, like Amelia Perez was problematic because of its film. And, there was also incidents outside the film, but mostly because of the nature of the film. And I think this year there's not as much about, I would love to dive into talk about Oba a little bit more and maybe some of those issues, which it's happened, we have the discourse, but there's still not as much emphasis on the filmmaking and maybe what's going on there. So I like that you pointed that out. And I think as we go through this list of nominees, we'll definitely see where that discourse is leading us.
Well, I have a question, Chris. Do you think, I know that there's not a clear villain. There's not a clear Amelia Perez. Is there a villain or villains of this Oscar season?
Well, I think it's changed throughout, and I think it's based on whatever film people are currently seeing as a threat. So, like I said, I think the initial reactions to one battle after another for the people that saw it in the theaters was really high, right? And then all of a sudden it drops on streaming, and then some discourse starts, which I think some were definitely good conversations to have. I don't want to discount that. But now all of a sudden, like the last 2 weeks, people are acting like it's a terrible movie. Like I am seeing takes of like, to the point where I was like, I almost feel guilty going on film Twitter and saying that that's my pick in a lot of these categories. Because all of a sudden it's, I think some people just want other movies to win so much that they're trying to argue it's not good. And I think there's also this phenomenon of, look, a movie cannot be your cup of tea, right? But I think people feel uncomfortable with saying that. So they try to come up with reasons why everyone else should hate it, like why something is objectively bad. And sometimes it's not the case. Like, I think it's a good thing to examine why a film might not work for you, because you can learn something about your own taste, but it doesn't mean it's a bad film or you need to put things out in the universe to say why everyone else should also hate this film,
Yeah, no, we've definitely noticed on online spaces how people just say this is bad rather than it didn't work for me. I talk about that all the time on my live streams. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying this is objectively bad, or it's their favorite phrase, overrated. And I'm saying, when you say if it's overrated, what do you actually mean? Oh, you actually mean you liked it, but you didn't like it as much as other people? Then say that is oftentimes what I tell them, because I feel like we lose the nuance of the conversation. And that's what the villain arc of a lot of these movies are getting to, is the lack of nuance. Derrick and I, in the first episode, we talked about, I loved Sentimental Value. I know it didn't work for either of you as much, but it's not like you two are telling me, Daniel, you like a bad film. You're just telling me it didn't emotionally resonate. Derrick says it feels like a hospital. I think you just said, like, am I watching a different movie than other people are watching, right? But at least we can have that dialogue rather than just shitting on each other's like favorite films.
Yeah. There's these moral claims that people make with these movies where you're almost a bad person, like you said, if you like One Battle, if you like Sinners. It gets kind of um, tiring, I think is the best thing. I just get so tired sometimes getting like opening the app and being like, all right, what's today? What am I a bad person for liking or disliking to a degree?
And it's sad because I love Oscar season, and yeah, it gets to the point where you're like, thank God this is over in a week, right? And you don't love feeling that. Like, I want to still enjoy it because then, then we get to a dead period where people aren't talking about films as much. So.
And that's what we're all about. We're here to celebrate the films, and we're just going to dive into the kind of the overview of what this episode is going to look like. We're going to give a discussion on each category, from actor in a leading role, actor in a supporting role. We're going to go through it all. We're going to talk about who we think will win and then who we think we want to win. And then by the end, we're going to, in each category, choose one big winner, which might get heated. There might be some feelings hurt, but we're going to try our best to make a claim and a stamp that this is the Screen Guide approved picks for our Oscars season.
And Derrick, you cannot try to sneak No Other Choice into this race. We have to work with what we have. We can't No Other Choice it, no resurrection.
Saying I can't go with my heart. I can't vote with my heart.
Not always. But yeah, I mean, there's some great categories here. I mean, casting for the first time. And I think some of them are really cut and dry. And I think a lot of them we might be on the same page on. But there are some surprise categories that I was like, I have no idea what's going to win here. And I'm excited to hear what both of you think of these categories and what your favorites are, because I think our favorites might be more different and our predictions will be a little bit more close. So we're going to be starting off with some heavy hitters here. The first category we're covering is actor in a leading role. The nominees are Timothée Chalamet in Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan in Sinners, and Wagner Moura in The Secret Agent.
We're starting off hot. Because this might be the category that I think is still up in the air in a lot of ways, and not just with the Timothy Ballet discourse, but genuinely even going into the race and voting, I was like, I don't know. I don't know where my allegiance lies with this category.
I know my should win, but I do think the will win is pretty tough. And Chris, I don't want to be like, okay, you're our guest, you can go first. But if you want to go first, you can. If not, one of us can try to take the blow, take the first stab here.
Yeah, I'll hop in. So obviously, the issue this year is that we do not have a BAFTA winner that is Oscar nominated. So normally you're looking at the BAFTA winner, you're looking at the SAG winner, and you're going with one or the other. I think a lot of times in more recent years, it's been a little bit more towards BAFTA, and yet we don't know who was second place, right? Robert Aramoyo won for I Swear, and he's not nominated here. So all of a sudden, we just have this big gaping hole where we would normally have some data. And I think a lot of people assume that Timothée Chalamet was second at BAFTA, but we don't know that. We have no idea. I actually think it might be Leo if they really liked One Battle After Another. I think people maybe put too much stock into Critics' Choice and Golden Globes. I do think they're important for early season momentum, but once you get it to this point of the season, they don't have any voter overlap. So I don't think they're as relevant, honestly, when I'm trying to break it down. So honestly, I'm probably going to predict Michael B. Jordan just because anything else would be a guess, right? I think he has SAG. There was a ton of energy in that room. And we know Sinners, regardless of if it wins Best Picture, it's a top 2 film. So I think that's already going to help him. And I think that will put him ahead of Timothy, right? And I think obviously the Academy has something with Leo because it took him so long just to win his first Oscar. So even if One Battle is the Best Picture winner, I don't think he'll necessarily go along with it just because he hasn't really been campaigning as much. And again, I don't think they're super elite friendly necessarily. So I'll probably predict Michael B. Jordan. I think it just makes sense based on what we know.
All right.
Derrick, where are you going?
Well, I knew where I wasn't going, and that was Ethan Hawke. So getting him off the board, he definitely loved the guy. I just don't think he has a shot. But I think I agree with you. I think seeing the swelling reaction at the SAG Awards or the Actor Awards for Michael B. Jordan, there's just an air in that room that was like, we're happy for him. We're just so excited. We love Michael B. We love the journey that he's been on. And I just think that momentum maybe I don't know if it's like you said, I don't know if it's shifted, but it definitely felt like he is the guy that is probably going to take it. And so I think he is my who will win, who I want to win is Wagner. Like that's who I think gave the strongest performance out of the 5, but I think Michael B. Jordan is my pick for who I think will win.
Yeah, I think watching The Room, like either Viola Davis's reaction to reading that letter, which is maybe the most joyous moment of this entire award season for me, or Amy Madigan after she won her award when she reacted to Michael B. Jordan winning. It's clear that at least the actors in the room really like Michael B. And I don't know. I know that a lot of like a younger Gen Z are liking Timmy's approach to kind of like not arrogance, but like his confidence that he brings into the room. But I don't know how much the older generation of voters resonates with his approach to advertising Marty Supreme or his approach to dialogue. This is one of the places I'm questioning how much of the internet is reacting versus how much the voters are. But I'm still going to lock in Michael B. Jordan as well, just because of this last voting week. This week, the internet has been loud, but also it's happened right before kind of voting closed. So I think that was really important. And my should win is also going to go to Wagner Moura. Chris, what's your should win?
Honestly, don't have strong feelings about this category. I think, honestly, if I had a ballot, I actually probably would go with Leo, which I know is probably not a popular opinion, but I really appreciate comedy. Like, I think some people are undervaluing the performance a bit because it is comedic, and so they're looking for more emotional moments, but the comedy is like a strength for me. Like, I think he plays that well. But I think this is such an evenly matched category. Like, anyone could win, and I'm like, that's absolutely deserved. So,
yeah, I mean, this is my favorite Leo performance. That is, I know, an unpopular opinion, but I think it's not only the comedy, but also the scene in the car, the scenes with him struggling. I think his moments of drama show his most mature side as an actor. I wouldn't be mad about a Leo win either, and I agree with you. I think this is a very strong category with everyone who got in, even the people that were at 6 or 7. Like if we got Plemons in there, I would not have been mad either.
Joel Edgerton.
Yeah.
I would have been happy. No, Daniel would not have been. I would have easily been so excited for it. He's a train dream. He doesn't like train dreams. So.
Oh, okay. I did like train dreams.
Yeah, I mean, it's look, doesn't like it is very strong. When I say I don't like train dreams, it's at a 4 stars. When Derrick says he doesn't like sentimental value, I think it's at a 3.5 or a 4 stars. Like these are movies we like. Wait, did you lower it? I saw that face.
No, it's at 4. It's a 4. Even though it still feels stale, like a hospital room.
We'll get back to that. But it does sound like with the screen guide vote, it's very clearly Michael B. Jordan is our predictive winner here for this category.
All right. And now we're going to be in the actor in a supporting role category. We also have a strong list of people up for this award with Benicio del Toro in One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi in Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo in Sinners, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Where do we think we're going to go with this one?
I'll go first. This hurts me. This prediction right here of who I think will win. This was like who was kind of got the buzz when the movie first came out. And then once the critics' bodies started talking and we had all of these different like cities giving their little city awards, Benicio del Toro was getting the love. And then we started hitting like Critics' Choice where Jacob Elordi got the love. We got Golden Globe where Stellan Skarsgård got the love. But I think I was wrong here throughout this award season. And I think as BAFTA and SAG show, I think the leather handbag himself, Sean Penn, is going to be a 3-time Academy Award-winning actor, joining the ranks of like Ingrid Bergman, joining the ranks of Meryl Streep, joining the ranks of like almost getting close to Katharine Hepburn. Like it's insane for me to say, but I do think the will win will be Sean Penn, even though I'm still holding on slight hope that Stellan Skarsgård, who's my should win, could pull it off. Chris, am I like reading the tea leaves wrong here?
No, I don't think there's any reason to doubt the SAG and BAFTA combo. I mean, I think that happens almost every single time if they have both. And to be honest, I was almost a little surprised he won at SAG because, SAG is a much bigger organization. They can be a lot more narrative driven, and Sean Penn has not been campaigning much at all. So the fact they still went for him, I'm like, okay, he's He's very strong, and I guess I can understand. It's a very character-driven performance, which people like, right? Like, he's coming up with a whole new walk, a whole new voice, like these weird mannerisms, and I do think that is attractive to actors in SAG, and then obviously he's in a very strong film, so I think it all makes sense.
Yeah, I think the love for one battle after another is really, I think throughout the award season is really taking Sean Penn to, I think will make him cross the finish line. I really was like holding out and being like, no, there's no shit. There's no chance. And when he won SAG, I was like, yeah, this feels like the way it's going to turn out. Even though I was like, maybe I'm holding out hope for a Delroy Lindo to kind of sneak in there somewhere, but I just don't think he has as much momentum as I really was hoping for. I mean, Jacob Elordi early on, Benicio not really as in the conversation as I thought he would be throughout this award season. I thought he would be getting a lot more love. And then Stellan Skarsgård was a surprise. I think it was Golden Globe is where he won. And so I am going to also make the claim that Sean Penn is going to win. And then who I will want personally to win, Delroy Lindo is my favorite performance of last year. Like if I'm talking about actors wise, he was in my top 5 performances. And so that's who my heart wants to go for. But logically, I think it's Sean Penn.
Just to make the case for Delroy Lindo, the argument is that he wasn't nominated at SAG and he wasn't nominated at BAFTA. So in a head-to-head, Sean Penn has not beat him. So you could go for him and say he's Regina King in If Beale Street Could Talk, because I believe she was not nominated at BAFTA or SAG and then won then. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but for my prediction, I would still go Sean Penn, but I just wanted to give the argument for why there's some Delroy Lindo truthers.
Give us some hope here.
There.
Yeah, we like it.
I hope there's a light now in my eyes. I feel like the light of my eyes was going away because I was like, man, it's Sean Penn. Even though I do think, like you said, it's that character-driven work. I see why people resonate, or actors would maybe resonate with that. Which, Daniel, you're an actor, which I think maybe you could give us some insight into why they like this performance.
Can't speak for voters. This is actually the type of acting that I don't resonate with as much at this time. I mean, I don't consider myself an actor anymore. I want to make that pretty clear. The BFA is not on the wall. It's in the closet somewhere, but it definitely informs how I watch performances. And this is not in line with the type of performances that I feel like I resonate with. Like, I go for a little bit more nuance and subtlety. I'm always impressed with the ability for an actor to do something big. But I think I get pretty annoyed at award shows, specifically the Oscars, that love to award big and showy. I think that's one of the reasons why we get a Timmy in the lead for so long. That's one of the reasons why we get some of the wins that we've gotten, like Joaquin Phoenix or Brendan Fraser, where like people like you being able to play a wide breadth of emotions. And the Penn one really resonated with general audiences. Like my thing with Penn is that I don't mind the performance. I think it actually is pretty strong. If I go back and read my first review, I was like, this is maybe Sean Penn's most interesting performance I've seen in years. I think the two things I don't love is his personal history as a human being, and also what this represents as giving this award that we continue to perpetuate that like big performances get the awards and subtle performances don't. I do think that him not being at these award shows, not being at SAG, not being at BAFTA actually is in his favor. There are some actors that the more you hear them talk, the less you want to vote for them. Penn staying quiet, just having that one moment at Golden Globes where he smokes the cigarette to get a meme, keeps him in the conversation, but does not detract from his performance.
Yeah, he's been a mysterious figure who I think we're going to make the claim that Sean Penn is our choice for the Screen Guide podcast actor in a supporting role.
Moving on to actress in a leading role, one of the biggest awards of the night. Our nominations are Jessie Buckley in Hamnet, Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson in Song Song Blue, Nada Reinsva in Sentimental Valia, and Emma Stone in Begonia.
Yeah.
This, can I just say, it's Jessie Buckley. Like I know maybe we'll have the conversation of like we'll go through maybe where our hearts lie, but like is there even a chance that any of the other women will win this one?
There is no chance. I don't think there's been anyone in history that has won a Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, and SAG, and then has gone on to lose. And not that I put that much stock into the anonymous ballots, but I mean, she's kind of clobbering everyone else from what I've seen. And even with the commentary, it's like they don't even consider anyone else. They're just like, it's Jessie Buckley, done. So probably the most easy pick of the whole day we'll do right now.
Yeah, it's is it everyone should win?
No, not for me.
Not mine either, Derek.
I actually think so. I think
Okay.
I was moved by her performance. And Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs I'd Kick You, I never got to finish the film. So I maybe that would be the one I would go for. But from what I saw, it was good.
From what
Oh
you
my God.
saw, did you leave
That
the
just hurt.
theater?
No. I was at a place. I'm a type of person when I start to feel like sleepy or I'm not engaged with the film the way it needs to be, I pause it and I'll come back to it. So it's not a DNF forever. It's more of I got to get back to this and give it the time that it really needs. But at the
Oh my God.
time, I was falling asleep.
Chris, I saw your reaction
Wow.
there. This seemed like it hurt you.
No, like Rose Byrne. I mean, if anyone follows my page, I've been like on the Rose Byrne Oscar train pretty passionately. But you know what? I think that aligns with the voters. Like, I think a lot of them did not watch the film, won't watch the film, and probably didn't finish it if they weren't liking it, because I think it is a tough movie for a lot of people. I personally loved the film, even like outside of Rose. Like, I had it pretty high on my like top 10 of the year because it really resonated with me. But yeah, I mean, oh my God, I loved her performance. I think it's like one of my favorites in many years. I feel like it's like the closest thing to a Gina Rowlands-esque turn. I think she had like maybe the toughest role in terms of, I think it's a tonally really hard role because she has to kind of get these bits of dark humor into this very harrowing film, which I know some people don't pick up on, but if you do pick up on it, I think she has that timing down really well. It's technically hard because the camera's so close to her face. And I don't know, I think it's a kind of role that could be very, very easy to overreact and get into histrionics. And I think she just plays it in this very real way. Like, my sister just watched it and we were talking about the film and I was like, oh, well, what did you think of the performance? And she was like, I honestly never thought about it as a performance because it never felt like she was acting. And I think that's kind of the highest compliment, really. So yeah, so she would be my pick, but I guess I'm just happy that she even made it this far, considering the extremely low budget, like less than 2 million made at the box office. And I think a lot of people even now still having not seen the film. So
Yeah, it is on HBO Max, and I do believe it won. You covered this on the Independent Spirit Awards. I do think she was the one that took home the prize there. So I was excited for her. I was like, once again, I'm not a hater. I want to make it clear. I like If I Had Legs I'd Kick You for what I did see. I just gotta, yeah, I gotta watch it. But I did have a question about this award. I wanted to talk about Kate Hudson and just her being in this, stack of women. Like, I feel like for some people, Kate Hudson, a stack of women, I don't know. We could cut that, maybe. I don't know. Keep it in.
Maybe
But
not.
I think she was a surprise for a lot of people. And I just wanted to get some insight into where you think was it actually a surprise from both of y'all? What's your experience with? I didn't watch Song Song Blue, but I know Daniel and maybe Chris, you did recently. You made a video on it.
yeah, I mean, I saw her. She was campaigning a lot. Like, I feel like not that she ran a To Leslie campaign necessarily, but I think her and like Goldie Hawn have that sort of insider connections where, we saw that she was like really making the rounds. Like, I think they were doing all the things they needed to do behind the scenes, even if it wasn't totally visible to the public eye. So it wasn't so surprising. It's just kind of crazy when you think about, sometimes you thought there'd only be room for one sole nominee, and it felt like, Rose Byrne had to like fight tooth and nail for that, and then Kate Hudson just kind of sweeps in at the end as a sole nominee, which is crazy because we had other options like Chase Infinity, who is in a likely Best Picture winner. So it is kind of crazy that Kate Hudson was so strong that she overcame that. But boomers love the film. Like, my mom called me after she watched it and she was like, she is so wonderful. And my mom honestly has pretty good film opinions in general. She watches a lot. And I was like, well, do you think she like deserved her nomination? And she's like, absolutely. Like, she wouldn't be her winning pick, but she was very, very enthusiastic. So I think just that older generation was very, very into it.
And they weren't always quiet with their campaign. Like at the Gothams, I believe, Hugh Jackman was going table to table saying, we need to get a nomination for this performance. We need this to happen. And I was listening to Screen Junkies podcast, and Katie Rich was talking about how like people were kind of turned off by this. So they were like, will this work? But I think it's the name recognition. And a lot of these performances here get to play a wide range of emotions, right? Again, they like people being able to play a lot. And so we have Jessie Buckley, who I think is a really nuanced job of this, but she gets to play like the weird, witchy, fun, joyous, and the grief. We have Kate Hudson getting to play quirky, charming, and then trauma, 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 right? Like she gets to play a lot of notes, even if those notes have a weird Midwestern twang to them. And so I think a lot of people were not surprised by this, even if this is I mean, we were talking about villains. I don't know if she's the villain because she doesn't really pose a threat, but this is the sneak category. I think Renata Reinsvos, who I would want to win this category. I think her portrayal of depression is one of the most nuanced portrayals of depression I've ever seen. And low key, even though I don't want her to win, this is my favorite Emma Stone performance of her career. Like maybe Easy A aside, like this is, I think, her best Academy nominated performance. I thought she was really fun in Poor Things. I think she's great in La La Land, but out of all the performances in Begonia, she's the one who left the biggest impression to me. But yeah, I mean, this is Buckley's to take home, and if anything else happened, it would be unprecedented.
I agree with that though on Stone, which I feel like isn't the prevailing opinion, but I totally think she deserved the Begonia nom, even though people were a little sick of her at that point. And again, it's because it's the way she weaves in the comedy into that in a way that's so subtle and hard to do. She had to really like teeter on the line there. And I really, really appreciate that. But yeah, I also kind of liked it more than Poor Things, honestly.
There we go. So the Screen Guide podcast is selecting, to everyone's surprise, Jessie Buckley in Hamnet for lead actress.
And now for actress in a supporting role. The nominees are Elle Fanning in Sentimental Value, Inga Ipsdotter Elias in Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan in Weapons, Wunmi Masaku in Sinners, and Tiana Taylor in One Battle After Another. What do we think here?
So obviously, I think people are looking at this as a three-way race with Wunmi Masaku won BAFTA. We have Amy Madigan winning SAG. And then I think some people still think Tiana Taylor could sneak through, in the Best Picture possible winner and having won the Globe. For me, I think it's a little bit more Wunmi versus Amy, because I think Tiana maybe should have won one of those if she was going to win. I am leaning Wunmi because she won BAFTA and was nominated at SAG versus Amy Madigan won SAG but was not nominated at BAFTA. And BAFTA had a 6-person lineup too. And so I'm questioning the international support she has, and if not having that won't let her get through. I also was looking up voting dates, and I believe that SAG voting closed before BAFTA. And so I think Wunmi winning BAFTA actually could have brought her some support because she had a lot more visibility, right? Like maybe you weren't considering Wunmi before, but now, okay, she has a ton of social media videos. You're seeing her, her speech. So now all of a sudden you're thinking about her more as a winner. That didn't affect SAG, but maybe had SAG voting closed after BAFTA, maybe she would have overcome Amy. So I'm going to go with Wunmi, but I think this is super close because obviously Amy is like a passion pick, and sometimes you don't want to minimize the passion pick. They can a lot of times come through, but that's where my head is at.
I think I'm still going to go with Amy Madigan. I love your logic here about the windows. The one thing I'm thinking about is Wunmi winning in part as a Brit at a British TV show award. And so I do think that there's a lot of sound logic in that idea of the campaign pushing it forward. But I'm curious on whether that is the Brits being Brits. I mean, having Robert Aramayo win definitely shows that British people like to vote for their own. And so I'm going to go with an Amy Madigan, as much as that isn't what I want to win. I know in an earlier video I think this was like in December, I did say this was a Jamie Lee Curtis win. And I want to take that back a little bit. I want to acknowledge I do really like this performance a lot more than the Jamie Lee Curtis win. I also respect Amy Madigan, especially seeing that clip of her not standing up to Elia Kazan just like brings me joy in my heart. And so I wouldn't be mad about an Amy Madigan win, especially because it pushes horror forward. But I'm again going to toot the sentimental value train and say Inga Ipsdotter-Lilius is right there. And I also really loved Tiana Taylor's performance. I think her, especially the turn into postpartum depression, even though we weren't in that phase of the movie for too long, I loved that section of the film. And I think that the movie does not work without her.
Wow. So it falls to me. This is good because I think Wunmi Masaku is who I want and I think will win. I think this will be, I just, watching her at the BAFTAs, watching her this award season and her just being pregnant throughout this entire time, watching her as she's just been so joyous and so uplifting of her co-stars and just herself. She's created just a narrative that has been like, she's very likable. She's not problematic at all. And I think her winning the BAFTAs, her being on stage, just there's the visibility is there for me. And I just also love her performance. I think it was in Sinners, her just being this motherly figure, but also a lover to, like, there's lover to, I'm getting confused, Smoke and Stack, which we'll get with
Smoke.
Michael, with
He'll
Smoke.
get some smoke on her.
Yeah. But her winning that too would be really cool just to see both of them. But also would love to see a Black woman get the win, and also her being pregnant winning the award, hearkening to the Black Swan win for Natalie Portman when she was also pregnant, would be just kind of a fun thing to see on the big stage as well. That's who I got as my winner.
Sounds like we are leaning towards, or we're locking in the Screen Guide winner here as Wunmi Masaku.
Amy Madigan is right there, but
Yeah, I do think it's the closest race we've discussed so far. So yeah, not shocked if it teeters either way. But
Yeah, and that makes it the most exciting. I mean, I know that they're probably going to start with Best Actor, and they normally do. I mean, Best Supporting Actor, but I'd love the Academy Awards to start with this one just to like really set the tone of the night. Because I do think if we get a Wunmi Masaku win here, if we get a Delroy Lindo win in Supporting Actor, I mean, Best Picture, I think, really would push over. We'll get to Best Picture, but I think it would push over into the Sinner's Land. Casting. Our first ever casting award at the Academy Awards. The nominees are Nina Gold for Hamnet, Jennifer Vanetti for Marty Supreme, Cassandra, I should have read these names beforehand, Casala Kundakundis for One Battle After Another, Gabrielle Dominguez for Secret Agent, and Francine Maisler for Sinners.
Right. This one, I just feel like I think Sinners won at the SAG, if you could correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I think they won for not casting, but for best cast, I think is a difference. And so maybe I want to talk about that. What is maybe the differentiation between what's at the Actors Awards and what maybe the Oscars is looking for in this category?
And maybe some of the voters need to have that conversation too.
Yeah, well, I think with ensemble, it's very much about the dynamic of the actors, like how the actors are playing off of each other. And it is about the overall performances versus with casting, you know, it's for the casting director. And I think casting director community is kind of small, and I think a lot of them do know each other, so you know it'll be a little bit more about the individual. Like Nina Gold is here because she is so famous in the community, you know, for Hamnet. So even though a lot of people had some other films that were a little more ensemble-y in their predictions, like if you know Nina Gold, you knew that Hamnet was going to make it in. So I think in this case they're kind of looking, you know, like there's child parts sometimes. That is something that's hard to cast, or like newcomers. So like Miles Caton, a big one because that was his like screen debut, or you know, even like Chase Infinity for One Battle because she's so young. Yeah, that, or just having like a very large cast, I think are things they would look for in terms of what is hard to do as a casting director.
Yeah, but my fear for this category is similar to a lot of categories where, I mean, most of the voting body will not necessarily know what casting is, and they might see it as best ensemble as an award. Like thinking about when actors are voting for the best editing, they're just like, hey, did it edit good? Or like best sound, did it sound okay? Rather than like being able to think about this through a nuanced lens, the way an actual editor or sound designer would. And so I'm curious if the voting body is going to lean into what SAG did.
Well, I would be one of those people because I would be like, all right, based on that, the precursors I've seen, it's like Sinners for ensemble. They've just as a whole cast have been on stage. I once again talk about visibility and what I've seen, and this could just be a social media perception. That's who would maybe say is going to win. But I think the precursor of who's the casting director, like you said, I think, would it be kind of this legacy first award ever? Would it be like a Nina Gold? So I would maybe say, based off what Chris said, I'm going to say Hamnet as my maybe who I think will win, and then who I would want to win. Oh,
well, I have a question though. Like, isn't casting at BAFTA, didn't that go to Sinners?
That one, Okay, yeah, I wanted to hop in with something. So that
Oh, no,
went
that
to
went to I Swear.
I Swear. So again,
Okay.
something to throw out. But I wanted to say, I think this is a year where I get what you're saying, where I do think in general it'll start to align with SAG Ensemble because that's how people will see it. But I think this is a happy year where the SAG Ensemble is going to align with what casting directors want because Sinners did win the award at the Casting Society of America, which is like the Artios Awards, I believe. So the fact that Sinners won there, plus the SAG Ensemble, which I think is how the general populace is going to view the category, I think it'll be Sinners because I think in a happy accident, let's say, it's going to just overlap. So
Yeah, I think it's going Sinners too, especially Miles Caton as like this out of nowhere. I know he was working with her, but like this out of nowhere voice who learned guitar, is a wonderful actor. He just won the Creator's Choice Awards over the weekend for Best Supporting Actor. And yeah, I think I gave Sinners both my should win and will win here as well.
yeah, I would agree with both.
I agree as well. I take back what I said about Hamden.
No,
I was
I
just
think
going. Chris had convinced me a little bit, but I would love to see this award and see. It's just I have no precursor. I have nothing in mind, no knowledge base other than what I've maybe seen is Sinners winning.
Yeah. No, I think Nina Gold was just important to get like the nomination because, I think some people had sentimental value getting a nom, but it missed. And I think it's because Hamnet was either going to knock out sentimental value or like Secret Agent, which, it took out sentimental value, I think.
The Secret Agent one was a lot of fun. That would have been cool. Like, I love just seeing it there because that cast is so unique. Tia Maria is such a fun character, like all these side characters. But I think the Sinners train is unstoppable for this category.
I agree. So Sinners is going to be our pick for the Screen Guide podcast winning the casting award or casting Oscar. And now animated feature film. I'm really excited for this category. We have the nominees Arco, Elio, K-pop Demon Hunters, Little Amelie, or the character of Rain, and Zootopia 2. Chris, where do you think we're going to go with this one?
It's K-pop Demon Hunters, right? I mean, I think if there's another Jessie Buckley like category, it might be this one. I think just based on hype, being on Netflix, but then also it did win at the Annie Awards, which is the Guild precursor you would want to look at. It was ineligible for BAFTA. I forget why, but it couldn't win there. But I think otherwise it would have won.
This is the first category where I have not seen all the nominees. So shout out Zootopia 2, which will be on Disney Plus on March 11th, I think. K-pop is definitely going to be taking this, which is fine, but Arco's right there. Arco has my whole heart. Like, my partner and I saw it and she bawled for the last 30 minutes, and on the car ride home as well was still in tears. And I also think the animation style in Little Amelie was quite special. I like K-pop Demon Hunters, and I think there's a lot of artistry there. Part of me does also see this as like how popular it was, the Netflix of it all. When we get into the shorts conversation, I think we'll also have the conversation about Netflix and their power to just have eyes in front of things. And so while I love how much this resonated with people and had a cultural impact, I do wish that at least Arco and Little Amelie had a little bit more. We're in the conversation just a little tiny bit.
Yeah. I think Arco, I thought Neon would maybe do a better job at pushing Arco a little bit more, just getting more people to see it. Because I would also be my pick in this category, but it's definitely the cultural impact, the one that probably most award members have seen, their kids have seen, their grandkids. Like, K-pop Demon Hunters was a phenomenon, and I just think that's going to carry it over.
Yeah, agreed.
That was our shortest conversation yet, y'all. It's going to K-pop Demon Hunters, and there's really no competition there. But if you can go to see Arco, please do. My side kind of conversation there with Neon is that Neon had a lot of movies to push. Once we get to international, we can also talk about them, but I do wonder if their approach to let's pick up everything from Venice or everything from Cannes and really push it forward makes it so they can't put their money behind as the projects, like in a way to get like one or two projects really celebrated versus spreading. I don't want to say that they're spreading themselves too thin, but there is a world in which A No Other Choice gets more love if they weren't also invested in all these other international features, or Arco gets more love if they weren't doing all this. And it's a double-edged sword because I'm so glad that they are, because now we have access to them. No one else is doing that outside of like Neon, Janice, and Mubi. But I also wonder if there is a world in which Arco gets more eyes and more love if they weren't also invested in 5 or 6 other Oscar nominees.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you think about the last couple of years, it was like kind of slam dunk with like Anora and then Anatomy of a Fall the year before. And, I think Anatomy of a Fall was probably maybe a hard one to work with. And then it blew up. And I think they did a really, really good campaign. I think the problem this year is because they have so many films that are directly against each other. And so
Yeah.
it's hard to like really campaign one. And, I was definitely disappointed about It Was Just an Accident. I really liked that film. I thought for sure, like, you can't fumble the can winner in terms of following this trajectory of like picture and director. And then it didn't happen, but it doesn't surprise me because they also had direct competition that they were campaigning for. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that sentiment is a double-edged sword because there is so much visibility. I genuinely am like, would I have seen Arco if it wasn't a neon push? Or would I have not seen some of these other films? Like, there were probably more accessible, this like in theaters, even limited releases than I think I've ever seen in the past. Like, I think if this came out 2-3 years ago, we'd be having these conversations like we just didn't have a chance to see it. Like, we wouldn't have access to see it until possibly after the Oscar push, which happens for so many of these movies. So
Well, and I'll also be interested in this category specifically. We have an Department M, Little Amelie, and we have a Neon with Arco. And Department M is planning on acquiring a part of Neon, or at least getting a large stake in Neon. And so it looks like they'll continue this plan if this is what Department M likes to invest in. Little Amelie is on the Letterboxd store right now, the rental store. So if you haven't checked it out, I would recommend it. I really like the uniqueness of style here, even if K-pop Demon Hunters is going to dominate it. But speaking of uniqueness in style and animation, we're going to move on to the next category, which is animated shorts films. We have Butterfly, Forever Green, The Girl Who Cried Pearls, Retirement Plan, and The Three Sisters.
I really like this category. This is actually the first time in my life I've seen all animated short films. I had never done that before, but I did it partly in part for the pod, but also just because I want to be better at watching short films in general. And I think that's like the first sentiment. I just want more people to watch short films. And I think there's a lot you can do with animated short films. I was moved by so many of these picks, but specifically, I think my favorite, which is actually the shortest, is Retirement Plan. This was voiced by, I'm forgetting, it's one of the Gleasons.
Domhnall Gleeson.
It's Domhnall Gleeson. It was, I think, at 7 minutes. It was very short, but in those 7 minutes, it's truly just about retirement, aging. It was one that I just resonated with me, but not just me. I think it was one of the ones that I saw people talking about as well. A lot of people on Letterboxd had logged this as their favorites, but I don't know any buzz or precursors. So you might have better insight.
Yeah, I mean, the shorts are always really hard. There's really not as many precursors to look at. I think sometimes it's just the vibe, or, you can look at some festival awards and such. Like, I know Retirement Plan won like audience award at South by Southwest, and Best of Festival at Palm Springs Short Fest. I was looking some of these up. So I know Butterfly is most people's pick, and that's because of the very the uniqueness of the style. It's like a hand painted short. The subject matter is very resonant. So I could see that happening if they're going to go with maybe the most unique, but I do think people might be underestimating Retirement Plan just because of I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of old voters and it might resonate with them. And then obviously it's won some audience kind of awards. So obviously it's like resonating with people, but there's no like precursors where these short films are going like head to head. So that's just kind of an added little data point.
I always see these short films as like more vibe awards.
Yeah.
It's interesting you keep on talking about like both of you mentioning like Retirement Plan and the older voters or like aging. Honestly, I would recommend Retirement Plan to my younger clients, to my like 20-something-year-old clients to watch in a way of like, hey, you don't have to put these things off. Like, you can do these things when you want to. It is the shortest. To me, the highlight of this one was more the script than the film making itself. So I do think I would lean more towards a Butterfly or even a Girl Who Cried Pearls win here, just because the Girl Who Cried Pearls being this stop motion weird thing that both looked beautiful and ugly at the same time, what was kind of special. But I think that Butterfly, both its subject matter and the way that it's painted, how it kind of like brings you on that journey as you discover what it's about. I really think it's going to be Butterfly's award to lose here. But I also want to shout out Forever Green because I was so mad at that bear, and so I
Yes.
just want to vocalize my feelings here. It was like Giving Tree on some sort of hallucinogens here, where like this tree, I love that tree, and
Yeah.
I guess the lesson is you can mess up with your parents because they'll come back as a different tree. The bear was really cute, and then this bear made me sad. So I just needed to name that. This is the one that made my partner cry the most.
Also, forest fires. Honestly, out of this category, the only one I didn't enjoy was the Three Sisters. That one to me felt like an oddball in a lot of ways. It was from the animation style to a degree. It wasn't my personal favorite, but even the subject matter, I think the other one's being a little bit more serious. This one being trying to be a little bit more comedic, and it just did not land the way that I liked it. But I would not actually be upset with Butterfly if that's going to be our choice. But I don't want to put
Yeah.
that out there.
It's tough. Yeah, I think like final prediction wise, I might go with Butterfly. I'm just kind of just bank on the voters going a little bit more with the I don't know, more just the unique style, I suppose.
So I think we're doing Butterfly as
Let's do Butterfly.
our Screen Guide podcast prediction here.
Now for the documentary feature film nominees, we have The Alabama Solution, Come See Me in the Good Light, Cutting Through Rocks, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and The Perfect Neighbor.
Now, first thing I have to say is I only saw 3 of these, so I cannot comment on Mr. Nobody Against Putin or Cutting Through Rocks. Of the 3, I was actually surprised that Come See Me in the Good Light turned out to be my favorite. It's not necessarily the style of documentary that always resonates with me, but I found myself emotionally moved by this relationship. That being said, I do think The Perfect Neighbor is going to be the winner here. I know that Come See Me in the Good Light, people can see it if it's on Apple. Alabama Solution, people can see it's on HBO Max. But The Perfect Neighbor is in line with what won documentary short last year. It's the same exact format that won documentary short last year. Geeta, by the way, the director of Perfect Neighbor, is nominated also for documentary short, which is crazy as well. A different style. She did the Devil is Busy. She directed that one. But yeah, for me at least, I think the should and will win. Even though Come and See Me in the Good Light did emotionally touch me, I think The Perfect Neighbor is what has the most buzz, and I'm going to follow the buzz here.
Yeah, I agree. I think instinctively that's where I would go. I know it won Critics' Choice. It has like the Netflix visibility. It's very like topical, and I think just probably the most popular among the general populace. I guess the only thing giving me pause is just Mr. Nobody Against Putin won BAFTA. BAFTA can align like a lot of the time, so I'm like, should I give more consideration to that? But I think maybe The Perfect Neighbor resonates a little bit more with an American audience and more so than the BAFTA, the BAFTA audience. So maybe that will edge it out, even though it didn't win over there.
Yeah, I have not seen any of these. So mine has been on visibility and what I think has been the buzziest. So when I was researching, I was like, okay, what have I seen in kind of the ether as people have been talking? And I agree with you, Chris. I've seen kind of both from American audiences, The Perfect Neighbor really resonating, but I think overseas market, Mr. Nobody Against Putin. And so it's tough because I'm like, which one do you go there? But I think Netflix, if The Perfect Neighbor is maybe globally with Netflix, just that overall visibility, like you were saying, Daniel, might push it over the edge for some people. But I think if people saw Mr. Nobody Against Putin, that would be what they go for. But we know the Academy, and I'm like, did they actually see it? And maybe I don't know the quality of it, me personally, but I think the people that did see it, it resonated with them. So my pick would probably be The Perfect Neighbor.
Okay, we're going to go with, sounds like all 3 of us are going The Perfect Neighbor here. Moving on to the other style of documentary short film, we have All the Empty Rooms, Armed Only with a Camera, The Life and Death of Brent Renaud, Children No More, Were and Are Gone, The Devil is Busy, and Perfectly a Strangeness.
Look, I also have not seen these. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna come in here in front. I've not seen these, so I'm going maybe based off of Precursor again. But I really couldn't find as much on these. I don't know if you guys have more information, but I think Armed Only with a Camera, The Life and Death of Brent Renaud was something that kept popping up, but that's maybe where I'm going to go. But I would want to know from y'all. Y'all probably have better insight than me.
I do think, I don't know. I don't want to just go with Netflix for everything just because
I was
they're
about
on
to say
Netflix.
the same thing.
But, I think again, because All the Empty Rooms has Netflix backing, and I think it has a connection to like 60 Minutes.
Yeah,
I think,
CBS as well, I think.
yeah, most people are kind of leaning there. It's obviously like, deeply, deeply emotional, very topical. So it's checking off those boxes. But I mean, these categories are so like hard to predict, So sometimes I don't like going with the consensus pick because I'm like, we can't all be right on these. But I could also say The Devil is Busy. I feel like that was like, that's about like an abortion clinic in Atlanta. And I felt like that felt pretty resonant. It was like a strong film, but I don't know. Yeah, I think I'd probably go All the Empty Rooms.
I just know it's not going to be Perfectly Strangeness. No offense to Perfectly Strangeness, but that was the weirdest 15 minutes of my life watching these documentary shorts, because I watched them all at the Taika Waititi Presents, which, number one, I have no idea why they're called the Taika Waititi Presents, the shorts, because he doesn't appear in them. I don't see him. It's not his voice. Yet, if I look on Letterboxd right now he's my most watched actor of the year because he
Stop.
presented these things. And I have not watched a Taika Waititi movie in a long time. But Perfect Strangeness is about donkeys and space lasers / telescopes that have been quote unquote abandoned, but they actually haven't been abandoned. And so there's no dialogue. It's beautiful visuals. And I love that it's represented as what a documentary can be. And yet, yeah, that's not going to happen. To me, I really did think it was between All the Empty Rooms and Armed Only with a Camera. And I was also thinking about Armed Only with a Camera, also with its connections to media, thinking of Brent Renaud's connection with all of these different news organizations. Even a lot of the news organizations, even some of the same ones that appear in All the Empty Rooms, are in this one as well. And so I could see those connections with CNN. These connections help the Brent Renaud. But I also think All the Empty Rooms, not only is it on Netflix, I think it's the cleanest documentary. And I also think it follows the same Perfect Neighbor rule where it's like, this is a very American story. This is, it's focusing on the empty rooms of victims of, school shootings. And the documentarian involved also wrestles with how much complacency he had with whitewashing these incidents, right? His job at the news organizations was to basically celebrate the heroes of these events. And now he's wrestling with all of that. I will say this is the one that also made me cry the most. This one definitely, this was 4 p.m. on a Sunday. I left bereft because we went from the donkey film, which made me feel confused. And I was like, this is pretty, to one film that made me angry. It went The Devil's Busy after that, made me just so angry, especially the protesters in it. And then the final three, just tears. Tears here. And I know it's boring to predict what a lot of people are predicting / to go 3 categories in a row saying, hey, Netflix has put these in front of people's eyes. But I think it's the safest bet if we are if we're dealing with these categories that we don't know a lot about. And so that's where I would go. But I would be okay with going with Devil's Busy if we wanted to. I just feel like I heard more about All the Empty Rooms as well.
Yeah. I feel like you made a really good argument for Armed Only with a Camera. You were talking and I was like, maybe.
Maybe.
And if you look at the last couple of categories, I feel like what wins will maybe tell us, how much a more, let's say, American-leaning story can win versus something a little more international, because the other ones kind of both deal with, Russia and Ukraine. And I mean, that's still a topic people.
Armed Only with a Camera would also be a big American pick with the American flag on his grave. I mean, it does a good job of being international as well, with it going to Ukraine, going to Haiti, going to Iraq. But yeah, this is, I just feel like it's All the Empty Rooms is to lose.
Let's lock it in. All the Empty Rooms. And we're going to dive into the live action short film category. We have Butcher Stain, A Friend of Dorothy, Jane Austen's period drama, The Singers, and 2 people exchanging saliva.
I think this is one where I can feel happy to go off of the odds, because I looked on Gold Derby and I think A Friend of Dorothy is number 1 in the odds, but I feel like it's going to be 2 people exchanging saliva, because that is a totally unique concept. It's dystopian. I think that is maybe where they'll go. It feels like something you could make into a feature film down the line if you wanted to.
It's tough because we're talking about the Netflix of it all. And I think Netflix maybe is showing The Singers. People can watch The Singers there, I believe. And it's not my favorite of the 5 shorts, but I think it's the one that maybe the most people have seen. And it's also, it's a musical. It's uplifting. It's kind of joyful, but I love the 2 people exchanging saliva. It was such a fun, like you said, surrealist, almost bleak tone in the short time that it had. You could just feel how effective it was, and I would really like that. But it's interesting that you said A Friend of Dorothy. I didn't know that was going to be one that people had some odds for. I mean, the friendship was nice. The maybe that like we're talking about boomers, older audience maybe resonate a lot with finding friendship in your later years.
Yeah, it's the cast. I think it's the one that looks the most put together in some ways. Like The Singers definitely feels put together, but it like first off ends just so abruptly. And there are some ways where the camera work might get in the way of what's been captured. Jane Austen's period drama just feels like an overlong SNL sketch in some ways. It's a funny, fun bit, but it does feel like it overstays its welcome. 2 People Exchanging Saliva and A Friend of Dorothy were my 2 favorites. I think A Friend of Dorothy not only feels good, but it also is queer representation. There are some positive aspects there. And even though I saw Gold Derby had A Friend of Dorothy above, I'm hearing all 3 of us kind of leaning towards 2 People Exchanging Saliva.
Yeah, I'm happy to go off the odds. Like, I think if you go on the odds for every one, you're not going to be right because there's no way they're all right. So I feel good with that.
I like
Okay.
it, and I would really hope it wins.
Sound. Moving on to sound. We're back into the away from the shorts categories. The nominations for sound are F1, Frankenstein, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Seurat.
Yes. I think the outlier for me is Frankenstein. Out of the 5 of them, it just felt like when I was watching this award, I was like, oh, okay, Frankenstein. But I think Seurat, if I got to see this in the theater, I mean, the soundscape of, I mean, that's basically what the film is based on, is this kind of soundscape, techno in the desert vibes. And so I was hoping that it would definitely make it here. F1, I think that's the technical categories, specifically in technical achievements for F1, is what's pushed it as far as it has, I think, for even getting a Best Picture nom. So to see it here makes sense. One Battle After Another has great sound as well. I think PTA always has great sound. Like, I don't think I can watch one of his films and that be something that's lacking. And then Sinners, of course, it's my favorite sounding. Yeah, Sinners is going to be my choice. I think Sinners, when I left the theater, when we're talking sound, not just score, but I think it's sound design and the world that I get to live in with Sinners. Like, I felt like I was transported somewhere different. I'm going to say Sinners is the will and should, I think, win for me.
Yeah, this is a category, again, I don't have strong feelings for my should necessarily, but I do think this is where they're going to throw F1 a bone. It did win BAFTA and I think at the Cinema Audio Society Awards, so it kind of just has the precursor. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of F1 in general, but like, I mean, I do think it has good sound. I'm not like terribly upset by that.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick is the number 1 F1 stan on this podcast.
It's a running bit at this point.
But I also put F1 as the should win and will win. I do want to shout out the Sinners design. My favorite moment of audio design here was in the car when Delroy Lindo is describing what happened to his friend and how they kind of interweave the audio of his tale into that scene. I just think it's so wonderfully done. The Frankenstein's a sneak, and I think Seurat, it's fun to have a nomination here for the Seurat, because I almost, when I was reading it, I was like, should I start wubbing just to prep up, go wub to prep up Seurat? But I think the F1 is kind of undefeated here, and I think it only, if it does win, I think there's 2 places I can see it winning, and this is one of them. And so the should win and will win for me is F1 as well. Sorry to Sinners.
Yeah. My out there opinion is that If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You had really good sound design.
Shout it.
If it if it had consideration outside of acting.
Honestly, you guys convinced me. I know I'm a Sinners diehard fan, but I agree. I've ridden hard for F1, pun intended. Like, it really is. The reason why it's been in these conversations is because of its technical ability and its achievement. So to not it win the sound design would just be kind of funny. for it not to. I think at the end of the day, it'd be like, okay, then why is it even nominated for Best Picture? I think the people who love sound, know sound, that's why it's in here. So
They go vroom, Derrick. They go vroom. You know the cars?
they go vroom and fast. That's all I know.
So it sounds like we're
So-
locking in F1 for sound. Derrick, where are we going next?
We are going with original score music. The nominees are Begonia with Jerskin Fendrix, Frankenstein, Alexandre Desplat, Hamnet with Max Richter, One Battle After Another, Johnny Greenwood, and Sinners, Ludwig Göransson.
This is a walk. Like, am I wrong? This is a walk. This is.
Yeah, this is.
There's no
Sinners.
way.
Is it like are we thinking it's Sinners?
Precursors
Yeah.
wise, I don't have the list in front of me, but I think that Ludwig Göransson has been running the board here. And it's really good. It's a really good score. Now, for me, there are 3 scores here that I'd be fine winning, right? I think the Begonia horns make Begonia in some ways, although it is kind of like it does the same thing a few times. And then the Johnny Greenwood score for One Battle is really something special. I can still, like, I'm hearing it in my head right now, and I'm feeling the tension of the road.
Yes.
And then look, I can't believe Max Richter got in. If we cannot get a nomination for the Dune Part 2 score because it uses too much of already made music, and I'm not even like the biggest lover of that guy, but like if we can't get that, like I'm sorry, Max Richter, make a new song. And then we'll get a nomination or get the Hamnet score out of there. So yeah, I think it's Sinners. Chris, you know more about the precursors here, but is there any chance it loses?
I don't think so. Again, I'm always looking at the Guild and BAFTA, and Sinners got outstanding score from Society of Composers and Lyricists, and it won BAFTA. And of course, I think Ludwig's been the most maybe visible on the campaign trail. And obviously Ryan Coogler's been like singing his praises everywhere he goes to. You know, I feel like everyone knows them as his best friend duo almost. So I think it's Sinners for sure. But speak on what you said about Max Richter. I'm like, you used like a song that everybody has known for years for like the most emotionally resonant climactic part of the movie. Like, come on.
But Derrick, you said like maybe there's another chance for something else. What were you thinking?
No. I think I just didn't want to buy like just go be like, yeah, it's Sinners again. And it's like you guys have more insight on it. I thought Sinners was, like you said, Ludwig Göransson. Also, they, like you were talking about, Ryan Coogler getting that push. Like he's been pushing Ludwig really hard as well. Like that friendship dynamic. He was also on the Amy Poehler podcast, like was a brief guest before Ryan Coogler was on. So he's kind of been making the rounds as a composer, which I think is cool to be like, oh, we have a composer who's out there and I can see his face. Sorry to the other men in this category. I don't know how they look like. But it's to just say that he is one of our preeminent composers, and it's cool to see him nominated, and winning would just be cool.
Well, I have a question about the winning aspect. For a lot of categories, sometimes we talk about, okay, they've won this category before pretty recently. Maybe they won't Tom Hanks it, right? Like Tom Hanks was able to win 2 years in a row. I think Russell Crowe also pulled something similar off. Like that doesn't always happen. Ludwig Göransson has won twice before. He won in 2019 for Black Panther. He won for Oppenheimer. Does that count? Obviously, it's not counting against him, but like, are you surprised it's not counting against him when it comes to his awards chances here?
I feel like they almost want to. I feel like he is so well regarded that they're almost like, you are our new Hans Zimmer. Like you are our next like big composer, you know, that is as revered. So I think they kind of have no problem just giving him another to, I mean, obviously because the score deserves it, but sort of just crowning him as like, you're one of our greats almost. And I think people just view him that way, or are starting to at least.
Mm-hmm.
And he might get another one with the Odyssey. That's
true.
the rate that he's cooking. Like, and I think if we're talking about early precursors, it just, the Odyssey feels like it who knows? It's going to be nominated for so many awards as well.
Maybe Zimmer will completely change how he does Dune Part 3 so he can get back considered again. He's like, I'm not going to use anything that I did in Part 1 and 2 to get included, but maybe not.
I mean, 2 is a very different kind of book. So you know what? They could just go with a whole new vibe.
Hey, I'd be down for it. So it sounds like we are locking in Sinners for our original score winner here. Moving on to original song, everyone's favorite category at the Academy Awards. We have a very relentless person with a nominee here, Diane Warren with Dear Me. We have, sorry about that. We have Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. We have I Lied to You from Sinners. We have Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verdi. And then we have Train Dreams from Train Dreams. This one
Okay,
makes me
I have
sad.
maybe-
You need to speak on it, Derrick, though, because you did a whole video.
I made a whole video on this
Yeah.
because the fact that it's going to go to Golden, and Golden is a good song. And I said that in my video and I will stand by it. Golden is, I think, an incredibly crafted song. It's very uplifting. Also works well with the film, just like this building arc to this incredible moment. Golden, good. I Lied to You. First, let's talk about the context of it in the movie. This song bridges the gap. It uses blues. It has this air of folk and rock. Like it has everything that you would need in genre bending. And then outside of it, I was listening to it at the Buddy Guy NPR Tiny Desk, and Miles Caton is singing it alongside him, and you just feel how timeless this song is. Like there's something that I'm like, I'm gonna listen to I Lied to You when I'm 70 or 80 and be like, wow, this is an incredible song. And Golden is too, but to not award I Lied to You is going to hurt probably the most out of all of them. I think for me, I also love Miles Caton's voice. And also just like Raphael Sadiq is an incredible proponent of music. He's just been kind of behind the scenes as production, but also just as a solo artist himself. So yeah, I maybe have stronger feelings, but I don't think it's going to win. I do think it's Golden, which will make me sad.
I basically agree with like everything you said. Like I do think I Lied to You is a really phenomenal song, and I would probably vote for it as well. Because Golden's great, but it's a little bit more, I don't know. Like I Lied to You is more tied to the film, like the subject of the film, versus I feel like Golden, like you could just kind of write independently of the film. It would, I don't know. And maybe that's why it'll win in a sense, because it's just a song you can like put on and jam out to, and it like definitely gets stuck in your head. Like I just had it on last night and it's still kind of running. But I think I Lied to You being more like integral to the film is an aspect that I like about it.
I do want to shout out that both of these songs being in the middle of the plot is such a relief, in the sense that so many winners are just after credit songs. So many winners throughout the history of the awards are the Train Dreams from Train Dreams. Not trying to throw shade to your movie, Derrick. Derrick, you said we should just give Diane Warren an award.
Yeah, okay. I was saying that just so she could kind of take, because I think in a lot of ways, to me, I don't know, she's taking a spot from maybe even another song from Sinners, or even another song from K-pop Demon Hunters. I think I forget the other song from K-pop Demon Hunters that's also really good, but
Soda
I think
Pop?
I don't
You're
think
my
that
soda pop.
maybe. But I think Last Time I Saw the Sun is one from Sinners. It should have 2 nominations. I was kind of surprised that wasn't in here. And so Diane Warren is just taking those spots. She has her honorary Oscar. Like, go ahead. But I think I'm not going to be mad that, I'm not going to be mad at that. I think it's K-pop Demon Hunters. And also just another thing, K-pop, like a K-pop song beating like an R&B, like a black, like there's a lot of things with K-pop and music that I'm not technically sound at speaking on, but K-pop really draws from Black music, and the irony of K-pop Demon Hunters, like a Golden beating out I Lied to You, is going to be very ironic, and just it kind of makes me a little bit like upset. That's what's going to happen. But upset is just like, okay, I'm a live life, but I think it's just very ironic that that's going to be the one that
we can just celebrate that Girl in the Bubble and No Place Like Home did not get nominated.
Oh my God.
So, yes, it is disappointing that this is another category, kind of like animated feature, where the popularity of a thing just is destroying the rest of the categories. I do wish this was more neck and neck, but it does sound like we are locking in K-pop Demon Hunters as the Screen Guide prediction over here.
And now that I've cooled down, we're going to move on to film editing. The nominees are F1, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. What do we think?
Is F1 again, right? Like I'm not crazy by thinking that F1 is. Wait, is that what I wrote? Pause.
Wait.
Pause. This is not what I said. I got distracted by the F1 of it all. I said will win One Battle After Another and should win Sentimental Value. Chris, where are you at? with this. Is that crazy? Am I off the map on either of those?
No, I think I think it'll be one battle after another to win. Again, looking at the guilds and BAFTA, it got BAFTA and it won at Ace. So actually one battle after another and Sinners won at Ace, but they're in separate categories, so they were not against each other. I think the editing is maybe like one of the most praised things about one battle after another, mostly because of the pacing, right? Like it's, what is it? I don't know, 2 hours and 45 minutes, almost 3 hours. And it really flies by. And I think a lot of that is because of the editing, obviously a lot with like the car chase scene. I think, that's like a mix of like the cinematography and editing and how they brought that whole scene together. So I think one battle will win, and it would be my pick as well. If I had a ballot.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is maybe one of the few, or not few, that I'm like, one battle really is the one that I want to win. But I genuinely, like you were saying, it flies by, and it's because of its editing. That you don't feel the lengthy runtime because it knows when to make a cut. I've been reading a book about film editing, and one of the main things it talks about is rhythm. And the rhythm that one battle after another kind of flows through is just, I think, the best of the year, and why a lot of people love it. But I mean, F1 is maybe in the back of my mind once again, just because of the technical. But if it's not winning precursor awards, and also enjoyed the editing in Sinners as well, but I just will vest to say that one battle after another is where I'm leaning.
Sounds like we're all heading one battle after another here. Moving on to production design. This has Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, and Sinners.
This is Frankenstein. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I think there are basically 3 Oscars that Frankenstein has down pat. And yeah, this got the necessary precursors with the Art Directors Guild and with BAFTA. And, I think Frankenstein was like a popular film, being on Netflix. And I don't know, I feel like a whole like fandom kind of developed from it. So I think it's a film that people maybe want to award, but it's really not like better than other films to award in other categories. So this is just something you kind of can commend it on is the production design and some of these other aspects.
Yeah, I think that Frankenstein seems to be a lock at this point. I think it, like you're saying, at the precursor awards. And I think Frankenstein, if we're thinking of what it's going to be awarded, this would be the place, like why it's been nominated. Even though I enjoy Sinners, I enjoy One Battle After Another. I can even see the appeal for Hamnet being kind of a period piece as well. But I think Frankenstein's going to take it.
So the Screen Guide podcast is going with Frankenstein as our predicted winner for production design.
And now for costume design. The nominees are Avatar, Fire and Ash, Deborah L. Scott. We have Frankenstein, Kate Howley. Hamnet, we have Malgosia Turnzanska. Marty Supreme, we have Miyako Belizy. And Sinners, we have Ruthie Carter. I apologize in advance. I probably mispronounced your name, but I'm happy that you're nominated.
It's very nice of you. I think this is also going to be a Frankenstein win as well. Just thinking about the costumes, especially like the dresses, the outfits. If they asked me, I would say, Ruthie Carter is right there. She got some good costumes that she made. But I think, like Chris said before, there are like these 3 categories in a row where Frankenstein is just going to dominate on the technical sides. Is this one of the ones that you were talking about, Chris?
Yep, absolutely. It makes sense. It has the precursors, and I think they like period piece, fantasy, very like big and lush sort of looks. So I think this makes sense.
Yeah, the thing about Sinners, interesting enough, they did a really good push. I don't know what publication. I think it might have been from Proximity Media, where they showed each one of the Sinners costumes, just character kind of, I think it was makeup and hairstyling, but also their costume designs. And so you got one of Delroy Lindo, you got one of Umi, you got one of Michael B. Jordan in just their costume and their makeup and hairstyling. So I don't know if that push, getting to see that visibility helped at all. But I if we're being, not being safe, but I think talking about why Frankenstein has been nominated, that's why it's here, I think.
Yeah. And it should be said, Ruth Carter is like very, very well known, and I think won twice for Coogler films at the Oscars. So she's definitely respected, and has that behind her. But I just think Frankenstein has that little extra edge this time.
They love a period piece. So It looks like we are, again, Frankensteining for our screen guide prediction. Moving on to another category that maybe we'll hear some similar predictions or nominations: makeup and hairstyling with Frankenstein, Kuho, Sinners, The Smashing Machine, and Ugly Stepsister.
I first want to say I'm so happy that The Ugly Stepsister got in. This is a film that's way lesser known. It's an indie. To me, is like an indie darling in the horror space, and so for it to be here, I'm incredibly excited. The Smashing Machine. At first, I was like, huh. And then I was like, well, Dwayne The Rock Johnson did have a turn and change into a different person. Kukuho is one that I'm like, how, like, the access here to see the movie has been like limited to none. But I think it's about, man, I'm gonna misspeak, not kabuki, but kind of theater in like through Japanese times. And so I don't think it'll win just because of the visibility and people seeing it, but I do think because it's based on makeup and hairstyling, it has a lot to do with it. I think I see why it's there. But yeah, all that to be said, loving all the other ones, it's Frankenstein. Like it's gonna be another technical achievement win there.
I agree with all that. Nothing else to add, really.
Same. I mean, I haven't seen 3 of them. I didn't see Stepsisters. I didn't end up seeing. Oh no, I've not seen 2 of them. I haven't seen Stepsisters or Kokuko but yeah, Frankenstein. I think they did. The most impressive part for me is how much of the design they had to change and adapt for casting changes. And, going from the Andrew Garfield to the Jacob Elordi so quickly, that was not an easy feat for these artists. And so, if the 3 of us aren't sounding the most hyped on Frankenstein in general, I think that we might be able to we can still acknowledge that the technical achievement of Frankenstein is there, and it makes sense why it is going through, even if Sinners is right there.
It is. Come on, Academy. Make the right choice, in my opinion. But on the Screen Guide podcast, we are stamping Frankenstein as the winner, and we move on to the visual effects nominees. We have Avatar, Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth. Oh man, I have things to say about that movie when we get there. The Lost Bus and Sinners. Where do we think it's going to go?
I mean, Derrick, you have things to say about Jurassic World Rebirth, and I think Chris and I want to know, you don't like some dinosaurs? Some bad-looking dinosaurs?
I walked out of Jurassic World Rebirth. I don't hate movies. Like I said, I try to. Yeah. Derrick doesn't hate movies. And walking out for me from a movie, once again, I know when I'm in a good space to watch a movie and what I'm going to get myself into. Jurassic World Rebirth, I wanted a fun dinosaur movie. I didn't personally get a fun dinosaur movie. I thought it was so lackluster, especially Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, the cast. I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And it didn't work. But if we're talking about visual effects, I understand. I think just like a Frankenstein nominee, I understand why it's here. Just the work to create and craft, just not even just the dinosaurs, but even they're on the water for a lot of this movie. Just getting to craft some of those scenes, I understand why it's here. And then the Lost Bus was also a surprise because if you see the Lost Bus, it's them driving through fires, and so having to simulate that, it works as well. But yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth, man, I think the worst movie I saw last year, and I think out of all the movies nominated at the Oscars, it's my least favorite.
I guess we have to commend the visual effects guild for being able to separate their like of a film from the craft, because I think that is hard for people, but they did it. But yeah, I think Avatar, Fire and Ash is almost predestined to win here with BAFTA and award from the Visual Effects Society. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm also going Avatar, Fire and Ash here. And I did not like the dinosaur movie, and I also did not like the bus movie. The bus movie, I know, Derrick, you got to see it with its star in the audience, which I'm sure maybe helps with an experience. But for me, I found his performance really detracted from the experience. And I was like, okay, Fire's cool, but I think they made a good Fire. But after an hour and a half of seeing a good Fire, I did not need to sit there any longer. So I like an Avatar win. I think Avatar was fun, and I think what James Cameron excels at is messaging and computer-generated imaging. And the images here I'm still thinking about Varang, so I think it worked in some ways.
Mhm.
Shout out Varan, is what we'll say. But yeah. So I think going to the Lost Bus, the screen that I watched this movie in is a 6-story tall screen. It is 84 feet wide. It's one of the largest IMAX theaters in the nation, and also Matthew McConaughey was in the attendance, so it did help. But also, it's tough for visual effects like this because seeing it on that scale just enhanced my experience. I was like, "Whoa, I'm in the fire!" Like I legit was like, "I gotta." Does it feel hotter in here watching this movie? But now it winning the award, I don't think The Last of Us should win. I just want to speak to that experience. I think Avatar: Fire and Ash will continue. The Avatar movies are just so immersive. It is our visual, like it is the visual medium being pushed to its limits, and James Cameron continues to do that with every single film. He did it with Way of Water, doing it with Fire and Ash. Will do it with however many he wants to continue to make. Hopefully, he kind of moves on to something new because I think he could do that. But yeah, I think Avatar: Fire and Ash is going to take it.
Okay, we're locking in Avatar, Fire and Ash. And moving on to what I consider the toughest category of the awards season. I really do think, I think we've been sleeping on how hard cinematography is when it comes to the quality of the nominees. And also when I'm thinking just like should win, it was really hard for me to go down there. But it's cinematography with Frankenstein, Mars Supreme, One Battle After Another, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Where are we going, y'all?
This is a tough one. I think going into this, I think a lot of people, I guess myself included, were like, okay, this will be Sinners. I think that's like a very celebrated aspect. There's a lot of like iconic kind of shots that stick in your mind after. But then One Battle After Another won at BAFTA, and I kind of had a sense of that because I think they also won with like the British Society of Camera Operators. I think that's their name. But they won there, so I'm like, is it One Battle now? And I'm probably not. I think my final prediction is going to come after today. The ASC Awards are today, so make sure we're recording on Sunday, March 8th. So after that, I think I might go with whoever wins there because they actually are going to be against each other. So this isn't like another ace situation where they're in different categories. So I might let that lead me in terms of who I think will win. I'm a little torn, but I do think my pick would be Sinners ultimately if I had to choose.
Yeah, I think it would be a historic win. I think Autumn Gerald Arkapaw, I believe, is the first. Is it woman or just Black woman? I don't want to.
I think first woman
In this category. So for her to be nominated and to win would be historic, but not just for the historic nature. I think just also for the cinematography. I think Sinners is a beautiful film, talking about a movie that I wanted to watch on the biggest format. I wanted to watch this in 70 millimeter. I also learned so much going into it. Ryan Coogler, I feel like I can't stress enough how much he has naturally orchestrated this campaign for Sinners. Obviously there's forces behind it, but I think he just being himself, speaking on the love for filmmaking and his partnership with Autumn, you can really feel it this award season. So that might be a push, honestly, but I want Sinners, and I think Sinners is going to be my pick if we're going for who we think will win. Train Dreams is the one that I low-key love the most. I got to see this 5 millimeter twice, and just hearing the crackling of it was actually shot digitally and then transferred to 35 millimeter. And so they had to kind of get the film grain. They had to understand how to shoot in the Pacific Northwest, the color grading of Train Dreams. It's a beautiful film that I feel like so many people watch on Netflix, and that's, Netflix is.
That's what they want.
I'm not going to blame the consumer here, but I think Train Dreams is just a beautifully shot film, and I also love indie movies, and this is an independent film and what they could do with the limited budget. And I also got to hear from the director speak on the challenges of making a film like this. I think really speaks to that. So, but I think Sinners will take it.
I do want to shout out Michael Ballman for One Battle After Another. I think the cinematography of One Battle After Another is amazing. Just thinking about the roads and the vistas of it all. But I think an Autumn Gerald Akapa win for Sinners is probably what's going to happen, and I would love I would love that to happen. Sounds like we're all leaning. Now, Chris, I hear you being like, I'm leaning this way, but we have to wait till
Yeah.
tonight. I don't have the data, the context.
Yes.
But contextless, it sounds like we're going Sinners as our nomination here.
Yeah.
Sinners it is.
So let's do
A
it.
Screen Guide podcast approved. And now to another tough category, I feel like, and that is international feature film. This is, to me, the one I've been stressing out the most about. And the nominees are The Secret Agent from Brazil, It Was Just an Accident from France, Sentimental Value, Norway, Surat from Spain, and The Voice of Hind Rajab, Tunisia. Who wants to take this? Who wants to speak on this first?
I mean, I can just walk. Yeah, I have a lot of disparate thoughts here. I mean, if we're going purely by like nomination count, obviously Sentimental Value has the edge. They are in every major category. So picture, they're in director, screenplay, editing as well. That's important. Casting is a new category, but it's interesting because Secret Agent made it in and then Sentimental Value didn't. So that's something that The Secret Agent has over it. I also feel like The Secret Agent made screenplay at BAFTA. So they could have made screenplay here and they didn't. Like instead they went for It Was Just an Accident and Blue Moon. And I mean, Blue Moon doesn't have many nominations overall. So maybe that's a little bit of a red flag that if The Secret Agent was really strong, maybe they should have made screenplay. So I guess I'm kind of leaning Sentimental Value, but there is sort of a vibes thing with The Secret Agent where it just feels like that does have a certain amount of passion, and the Oscars have Wagner Moura in versus BAFTA didn't. So there's just these different things. But then, sorry, I'm going back and forth, but then Sentimental Value, they got Elle Fanning at Oscars, and BAFTA didn't bite on that. So then that's like another point in Sentimental Value's direction of like, okay, the actors at least are maybe more on board with it. So I'm very torn. I think there's kind of a vibes thing that I want to go Secret Agent, but I might just stick with Sentimental Value because it's a film they clearly liked a lot, but it just doesn't really have potential to win much else, especially if they're going to go with like Sean Penn over Stellan. So I think I'll stick with Sentimental Value, but I'm very torn, as you can see. I think there's a lot of different arguments and ways you could lean. What do you guys think?
I am also going with Sentimental Value. This whole race has been an insane experience watching It Was Just an Accident, which I definitely thought was the presumptive winner pre-January. Pre-January, I was like, this movie is going to go places. And honestly, it's the what I think should win pick here, even though I have Sentimental Value rated higher. I just think it's important to get Jafar Panahi on that stage, and this is where we could get him up there. But between the two, even though The Secret Agent won critics and BAFTA, number one at critics, he was not even on stage. He was told on the red carpet beforehand, which is insane. In Golden Globes, which doesn't have any crossover, his speech was the only speech cut off. It was cut off like five seconds in, basically, versus everyone else getting to monologue and getting like a weird monologue from Judd Apatow. And so I think while there is this idea that we get to see more people in front of it, we haven't seen The Secret Agent in front of people's faces in a long time, but we did get to see Sentimental Value at BAFTAs. And they also won, I think, the European Film Awards. And I just also think that the Oscars have a history of liking white people. And Sentimental Value is the white movie. It's not necessarily the right movie, but it is in this area. Plus, parts of it's in English. And so, even though I love this movie so much, I'm looking at these reasons why I'm like, let me play to the dumbest Oscar voter and what would they pick? And they might pick the movie that they don't have to watch for part of it because they can be on their phone when Rachel Kemp is talking in English. Maybe that's me like being rude to these Oscar voters, but I think Sentimental Value not only has the craft, it has the nominations behind it. I also think it's maybe the easiest for them to approach.
This, man, y'all, this has been the one where I was like, do I go with my heart or where do I go with maybe the logic? And I think, like, for me, I think I'm going to lean The Secret Agent, actually. I know that you guys are leaning Sentimental Value. And something I wanted to, I don't know if this is actually helpful in the voters' eyes, but Kleber Mendoza Filia was a film critic. And he was someone who was kind of in these voting bodies and then turned into a filmmaker. And I just have been seeing some of the critics that he used to be beside speaking so highly of him, and I think he's just beloved as a person and as a director, and outside of just the Brazil voting body, but I think just him as a person, and also Wagner being the one being pushing these films, and so I'm kind of holding some stock there. This is me making it up. There's no precursor or me understanding how people think, but I just wanted to be like, if I'm going by vibes, like I know you're saying that, Chris, earlier, it's like going with, the feeling. My gut is really telling me The Secret Agent is the one. And then, but logically, like you're talking about, sentimental value would be the one that would feel easier in this case.
When we look at last year, right, you could say, okay, I'm Still Here won over Amelia Perez with way less nominations, but Amelia Perez had a lot of controversy right before, and I'm Still Here actually had a late surge versus I feel like The Secret Agent has been there the whole time, right? Like, I don't think it was so much of a late surge. Like, you know what I mean? They were winning at Globes and Critics' Choice. So I'm torn too. Like, I agree with you. For some reason, there is this vibes thing that is pulling me towards Secret Agent, but it's not based on that much. It's just sort of like, I feel like the people that love it really, really love it. And maybe that pushes it through. I'm kind of curious, like, what the percentage of, like, I don't know, like international voters from, like, like South America, or like, because I know, like, there's like a good, like, I knew for like Golden Globes there was like a good portion of like Brazilian voters, for example, and so you're like, okay, I think it's gonna like have an edge because they're gonna like push it hard. I'm not really sure what like percentages for the Academy, and not that they'll necessarily like vote for it, but that can help.
Yeah, that's something that I've always I thought about, but I also thought about how big maybe the European voting body is too, for a sentimental value. And once again, not that people just vote for their own, but that's kind of what we see typically from these awards races. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's tough, because do we go with the vibes or do we go with the logic here? And that's maybe sentimental value. We can at least say that, Surat and The Voice of Hind Rajab, which are also great movies, just don't have that pull, or have gotten, which Surat, at least for a little bit, was having kind of had a slight push, especially in those technical categories. I think maybe people got to see it and people were really speaking on it, but I think now that the chances have faded there. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna say Secret Agent. Maybe we say, Chris, you're gonna. If you had to lean one way or the other, where would you lean?
Think I'm going back around to sentimental value. I'm thinking of the actors branch, right? That's like the biggest branch. They got an Elle Fanning when no one else was touching her. So that group might just go with sentimental value. I don't know. It's just hard for me to see, like, wow, it's in all of these major categories and they're not going to give it like a single award, So I think I'm going to go back to sentimental value.
Daniel, you are the tiebreaker. Where are you leaning? Where are we going?
Like sentimental value, I think. Okay. I mean, I love Secret Agent, don't get me wrong, but I think sentimental value has it. I think there's a very vocal Brazilian contingent on Twitter, but that doesn't mean that sentimental value that doesn't mean that Secret Agent will overrun this. And that, yeah, so I'm going sentimental value here for our nomination. And that's not just bias. That's not just me trying to push forward my favorite film of last year into our predictions list.
I might be a little bit.
Okay. I do want to say it was just an accident would be my should win. Like, that was actually one of my favorite movies of last year. I liked how much it almost had like a screwball comedy premise for like a lot of it before it, the dam broke and it gets into these like really serious, intense scenes at the end that like I think carry even more weight because of sort of the lightness that carries through until kind of all the anger bubbles from these characters. And obviously it's like very politically resonant. But anyway, I just have to say, because I was disappointed that it didn't make Best Picture, which it obviously should have gotten in over F1 in my opinion. But anyways.
No, I agree with you there. It was just an accident not being nominated in that last spot was shocking, but not surprising, And I think we spoke about this a little bit, where Neon just had it had a push for most of these movies. And, I'm thinking No Other Choice not being included here. I think that them just having and being spread so thin maybe it was just an accident, just got left out there. But it was also one of my favorites from last year and my favorite in this category.
So we're moving ahead with sentimental value. Moving on to one of the final 4 categories for our predictions, we're moving into the writing categories with adapted screenplay. We have Begonia, screenplay by Will Tracy. Frankenstein, written for the screen by Guillermo del Toro. Hamnet, screenplay by Chloe Zhao and Maggie O'Farrell. One Battle After Another, written by Paul Thomas Anderson. And Train Dreams, screenplay by Clint Bentley and Greg Quaidar.
I think we can easily possibly say that this is going to One Battle After Another. Just precursors. This has steamrolled the awards race, and I have nothing else to say. Truly, I mean, like the other ones are great too, but we have not gotten to see them get the awards this season just because of the strength of the writing from PTA.
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll get there, but I think these writing categories will be pretty straightforward. And, WGA hasn't come in yet, but I think everyone just knows it's going to win there as well. And I'd probably go for it too, I think.
Yeah, I'm a will win and should win here when it comes to this. The only other screenplay I would love to see here would have been a No Other Choice. I think that like updating the acts for 2025 was really impressive. When it comes to what we have here, the one battle is what we're locking in both as our will win and at least for Chris and I, a should win. Derrick, is this also what you think should win, or is there another? Are you a Train Dreams in again?
No, I think this one I would say I haven't read the Train Dreams book, and I haven't also read the book that was adapted for One Battle After Another, but reading about the adaptations and how they were adapted, I think PTA did the best job here from the source material. And so I would say One Battle After Another just has great writing as well. But going into the original screenplay, which may also be another short conversation, we have Blue Moon, written by Robert Kaplow. We have It Was Just an Accident, written by Jafar Panahi, script collaborators Nadir Shidmar and Medhi. I'm going to just say the first names to not butcher the pronunciations of the last names. Marty Supreme, we have written by Ronald Bronstein and Josh Safdie. Sentimental Value, written by Eskil Vogt and Joachim Trier. And Sinners, written by Ryan Coogler.
Sinners.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean, Sinners winning here, I think would be extraordinary. And I mean, I'm trying to remember what the statistics are. If you guys know about how many Black men have won the original screenplay category, I believe it's not as many as it should be. Let's say that much. I know Spike Lee has won, Jordan Peele has won, and
I don't know who wrote the screenplay for 12 Years a Slave, but 12 Years a Slave screenplay did win as well. Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about this last episode of the relegating the film by a Black director to the original or adapted screenplay award rather than giving them best director. Wait, Barry Jenkins?
I think Moonlight did win adapted screenplay, and that was Barry Jenkins and Terrell Elvin. So I know sorry, I wish I had the stats up for this as to like how many were in adapted versus like how many were in original. But I think, like you said, overall the number is not extremely high, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think it speaks to the sentiments that the strength of the Sinners screenplay. Just looking at the other movies in here, they're also great. Like I mean, It Was Just an Accident is a great screenplay. Marty Supreme, Sentimental Value. Honestly, Blue Moon screenplay and the writing is very strong. I watched Blue Moon and I was like thinking of the comedic elements of it is very good, but there's something about the originality of Sinners and how it just combines so many different, not just genres and influences, but also having almost original ideas and things to say about today, I think makes it a very strongly written screenplay.
Yeah, I concur. I think Sinners is amazing. I mean, I love the scripts for Sentimental Value. I think Blue Moon is fun. I would say there are some elements that don't work for me, i.e., I don't necessarily need the Avengers cameos moments in the Blue Moon script, even though it works. I would have loved, and It Was Just an Accident moment here too. But if it's not going to be Jafar Panahi, I would really love it to be Ryan Coogler. So I'm excited that we'll get Ryan Coogler at least once on the stage. Hopefully we'll get him maybe one more time after that as well. So are we locking in Ryan Coogler for Sinners?
Absolutely.
We are.
There we go. Moving on to the second to last category of the night, we are in directing. We have Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners.
I think this will be PTA. I mean, he's just been kind of steamrolling. You know, he got BAFTA and he got DGA. So again, that combo together is just pretty kind of unbeatable in my book. And I mean, you know, he's just and he has the kind of veteran status too, I guess. Like, I mean, there's just so many films that people love from him over the years, and he's never won an Oscar. So I think it also has that feeling of like it's time. In addition to, I think very deserving of this film.
Yeah, and I think that's where the voters are going to lie as well. I think it's a strongly directed film, but it might be the sentiment that Ryan Coogler has another shot. You know, like, will PTA have another chance after this? You know, he makes incredible work, but it's his time to maybe get one. And Ryan Coogler could just do it again. And that would be my race right now. I think it's a race between Ryan Coogler and PTA. I don't think the other nominees really have a chance here. I really was maybe hoping a Jafar Panahi would also be nominated here as well. Just once again, getting his visibility and maybe even getting the win would be cool. But I think it's going to go to PTA.
Yeah, I'm going PTA as well. Precursors all indicate this. This feels like it was PTA's year. And I know myself and a few other people have made posts and talked about how they wish he was more vocal about what's happening in the world. But I think he's done a really good job in his speech, really making it about the people he's worked with, making it about the community. Like, he didn't do the videos that Ryan Coogler did, as many of them, but in his speeches and in other platforms, he talks about the collaboration process. And that's what a director does best, is collaborate. So whether it's Adam Sumner, who he's paid homage to in almost every single acceptance speech, or working with Benicio del Toro to completely change that character and that second act of the film to match where that character felt a little bit more natural for del Toro. That's what a good director does, is they don't just tell people what to do. They listen to the people around them. And is this PTA's best movie? No. But how many times does a director win director for their best movie?
Not nearly as much as it should be, which is a lot to say about just the Oscars in general. But that is going to be our pick for the Screen Guide podcast. PTA, Paul Thomas Anderson, for One Battle After Another for the directing category. And now we have made it to our last category. Thank you for joining. If you've made it this far listening to the podcast, it's lengthy, but there's good stuff here. There's good stuff. It is Best Picture time. What we are going to choose, what we are going to say is going to take home the biggest prize of the night. Starting off with Begonia. Then we have F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and lastly, Train Dreams. Who do we think is going to take home the biggest prize of the night?
This is a two-horse race. It has come down to the two Warner Brothers juggernauts. I don't know if I want to be the first one on the podcast to predict what's going to win.
So we got to
I'll
shift
put it forward. I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll stand on it. I'll do it. I know people have been talking about Sinners having this groundswell, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is based on the conversation we were having like an hour ago about internet dialogue versus voter discourse. And even though my should win is Sinners, I still think that One Battle After Another will win. We haven't had a split in a little while since Coda Power of the Dog with Jane Campion, and that was a COVID year. I'm going to put One Battle After Another as the winner, looking at the precursors, looking at what it's won thus far. I don't necessarily know if this final push for Sinners was enough to get it over the edge for the voting body.
Yeah, I guess to go next, I would also predict One Battle After Another. I mean, I made like a whole little spreadsheet here, but I feel like it's almost on pace with Oppenheimer for what it has won. The difference being that Oppenheimer won SAG, but then you could argue that One Battle After Another is going to win the Writers Guild, whereas Oppenheimer wasn't winning the writing awards. So not that it's necessarily a one-to-one swap, but they're essentially on that same dominant field here. With WGA, ACE, DGA, PGA, BAFTA, all of that has went to one battle, and PGA has really been the biggest predictor. I mean, if you look at the last 5 years, the PGA and the Oscar have all lined up. And then I think when you just dig into some of the years that didn't, there are like very specific weaknesses with the front runners, right? Like 1917 and Parasite, 1917, I think it didn't even get nominated at, like 1917, it wasn't even nominated at SAG. It wasn't nominated at ACE, and then Parasite directly beat it at the WGA Awards. So it's like, okay, sure, 1917 won PGA and DGA, but it lost or wasn't even nominated for these other major guilds. And so I think a lot of people are looking to Sinners and saying, well, it has that like SAG and
Ace.
yes, SAG, ACE, and WGA combo, but there's no weakness in one battle to point to like why that would win over it. I do feel the enthusiasm. Like I felt that at SAG. I was like, I felt it. I was like, oh my god, like I have like a high from this. And the feeling in that room was unbelievable. If Sinners pulled through, like I really would not be shocked. Like I do think there's something there. It's hard to say that with the groundswell of Sinners has the love for one battle after another actually diminished, right? Like, because I think there's a lot of people that watched it and are just like, that was my number one from the year. And that's it. Like no external thing that happens is really going to change my number one vote. So the question is like how many people were actually undecided versus how many people were just kind of like firm in their one battle vote and then, firm in Sinners. So anyway, sorry, I went on a while, but I guess all that being said,
No,
I'm
you're
leaning
speaking
one battle
truth.
after another for those.
Yeah. No, I think I was caught up in the swell of Sinners. At first glance, I strongly believed Sinners, and I mean, I think this will be a great case study after the Best Picture, like we go through the Oscars, if Sinners were to win. But I don't think, like you said, the diminishing, like people have diminished their love for one battle after another. I think people still love this. I think there's a video that I watched, which I know this is online, but it was celebrities being interviewed about what their favorite movie of the past year was. And there was still this overwhelming support for One Battle After Another as their favorite movie. And they're the ones that are kind of voting for these movies. And I think the voting body, I think, is going to say One Battle After Another. But to Daniel's point, I think Sinners should be the win here. I think we've talked about this extensively, how Sinners being a win that says something about today and where we are, not just in America, but as a society. I think Sinners would be a more groundbreaking win. And I've gone and said on record that Sinners will outlive, to me, a One Battle After Another. I think the enthusiasm of people going to the cinema to see Sinners, the conversations that we have around Sinners, and I think that's at least where I feel. I can't speak for when people are 5 to 10 years from now, but I think, even my Sinners bias aside, as being one of my favorite movies of all time, I think One Battle After Another is going to take it.
It's a really exciting race, right? As Chris broke down, both of these films it would be unprecedented if either of them lost, right? No film has ever won an ACE, UGA, and SAG and then gone on and lost. And no film has gone on the run that PTA has gone on and lost. And so we have these two unprecedented runs for films. But as Chris keeps on breaking down, one of them even though both of them have these things that would be impossible if they actually lost, one of them has won a lot more. And so I think One Battle is going to be what we lock in as the Screen Guide podcast. And come Sunday night is what that envelope is going to say.
I agree there. And the discourse that will come from this, we'll see how it all will play out. I don't think it'll, because I think it's a people versus industry kind of delineation right now. Like I think a lot of people like we're talking about feel this surge in love for Sinners at the moment, where One Battle After Another, if we're talking about, I mean, there's villains on both sides, but I think One Battle feels like if it wins, will be the villain that people are like, this is not great. And I think Sinners is the same thing. If it wins, it'll be the same insufferable things that people have been saying.
Which is, I don't know, which is such a shame, because like I really truly love both of these films, and like I will be overjoyed to see like either one win, and I guess unfortunately people can't think like that. You know,
see
because
it like
unfortunately, it's like you
sports.
have, right? Yeah. It's like, unfortunately, yeah, you have to just pick one for your ballot. But, like, you know, like I said, I like both of these casts a lot. I liked both of these films. But, oh my God, everyone got crazy in the last 2 weeks. I'm like, can we please go back to a few months ago where I feel like everyone was just kind of celebrating the fact that we had so many great films compared to last year.
And this happens every year, right? Like Honora got turned into a villain after it won. Everything Everywhere All at Once got turned into a villain after it won. There is a hipsterification on some of these conversations too, where they're like, once it's the front runner or once it's the thing that's going to win, we have to poke holes. And I think there are some really valid holes to One Battle After Another that we've talked about on this podcast and on our live streams that I do want to honor. And then I also think that people just want to tear down the thing that represents the biggest threat to the thing they want over the line, rather than being like, oh, wow, there are 5 winners that if they won, I would leave a happy person. I would walk away from that night being like, wow, my favorite movie or my second favorite movie or my third favorite movie won. That's really special.
Yeah. And I think as we wrapping up the pod, I think we're choosing and locking in One Battle After Another. I wanted to ask, what award from Best Picture would you be completely upset won? I think we're okay with the One Battle After Another and the Sinners, but which one would actually maybe make you upset, or if you don't feel upset, make you just more surprised, I would say as well.
I mean, F1, right? That'd be the biggest shocker in Oscars history.
Yeah, I don't need an F1, and I really don't need a Marty Supreme. I don't need that dialogue. I don't need that all happening. I mean, I'm already sitting with this weird thing with like the ballet getting talked about more than the Josh Safdie allegations on the internet. Like ballet felt like a bigger issue for people. But yeah, both of those. What about you, Derrick?
Yeah, I think I've talked about this. Hamnet winning would honestly be not upset, but the shocking aspect of it. I think it would be just such a funny thing as we're talking about One Battle After Another, and we're talking Sinners, for Hamnet to be like, kind of, if I'm thinking of a third that's maybe been sneakily there, Hamnet to me this award season has just been like, we're not giving you best, like the big award, but Hamnet would just be one that would be funny.
Speaking of big awards, a big award I want to give is Chris. Thank you so much for coming on to our podcast, being our first guest. We're hoping to be able to have you back again, obviously, and we hope to have like a rotating through of all of our favorite kind of social media people. And you were one of the first people who were like, we need to have Chris on, especially around this award season. And so a big heartfelt thank you from both Derrick and I for coming on and being a kind of guinea pig as we begin this little project.
Thank you for having me. I mean, I feel like I was dying to talk about the Oscars with someone. So this was great. And I mean, I really respect your content. I feel like you guys are like film masters in terms of like knowing, having so much historical knowledge. So I learn a lot from you guys. So I was very flattered you asked me on.
You are the film expert, in my opinion. You have a wide knowledge base, like we said at the beginning of the pod, about not just awards, but film and TV. You can break it down and make it digestible for people. And I think without you and being a guiding force throughout this entire episode, we would probably be like maybe more vibes based, but you had the precursor knowledge readily and available, and I think will really help our listeners. So Chris, where can people find you if they wanted to see more content from you?
Yes, you can follow me on TikTok. My username is CrisCinema, no H, so CRIS Cinema. Yeah, and like I said, I'm always doing TV recaps for whatever the big show out is, film reviews, some awards season breakdowns, just other film TV commentary talk. I try to cover all realms best I can.
And Derrick, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me, the Screen Guide Podcast. We're on many platforms. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. We're going to get a letterbox. We're on YouTube if you want the visual format, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But me personally, you can find me at SimiViews, SI Views, VIEWS, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube if you like shorts as well. And what about you, Daniel?
I mean, you can look up my Psychology Today if you want to see my therapy. No, I'm just joking.
I was about to say.
I mean, you can, but I haven't updated that bio in a while because I'm not taking on new clients. But you can also look me up at Daniel Film Therapy on Instagram, on a YouTube Shorts page, which I haven't updated in months. and on a TikTok page that I post daily and go live daily. But yeah, I hope that you tune in. Anything else before we go, Derrick?
No, this has been the Screen Guide Podcast. Put it in your ear.
Put it in your ears.